So sorry, what you've missed if you're just watching the replays, all the information about it. Don't worry about it. Do you want to press accept again? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I fixed that problem. Oh well. Okay. It's good though. I'd rather you knew we were recording. So we're looking at what I want us to think about in everything. So while we're talking about the spine in terms of the physicality, the same thing applies through our lives, is a little bit of movement in a lot of places. Being solid with this uprightness, but with our uprightness, we still have all of these curves and bends. So it's this S shape is what allows us absorb the pressure and the shock. So even though they're all stacked on top of each other, it's not like a rod. It's not straight, but they are stable and stacked. The other thing I want us to, when we're moving, so when we're taking a leg up or arms out, and that's what we're going to be playing with first with the belts, is to be very conscious of either using our torso as like a dead weight off our hips, or using our legs or our arms as dead weights off the center of the body, or our head. Now I know I'm always talking about the head and how it's a stone weight, and to be very mindful of our head, but the same thing, so that the head doesn't become this like dead weight that we kind of flip here around the place. And so that's where this whole idea of embodiment kind of comes in. So I'm going to invite you typically, or today at least, to kind of think of it in terms of your bones rather than the muscles. So see if we can keep this kind of bone on bone on bone on bone on bone structure connection, so that you've got this weight-bearing structure, which is like 2 legs into the hips, single spine, 2 arms, single head. And I might refer to us as having 6 limbs, which is 2 arms, 2 legs, a head, because it's so heavy, and it has so much movement. So a head, and then your tail. So even though your tail, being your, say just your tailbone, if you can see here, so that your tailbone is not nearly as heavy as legs, arms, or head, and doesn't have any movement in it probably, but it does send you in a direction. It does have an effect in terms of your positioning. And so for you to become conscious of your tailbone, even though it's not going to put a physical structural weight on your body, it will have an effect on how the tailbone will have an effect on what you're doing with your pelvis, which will then obviously have a massive effect through your spine. So that's the kind of 6 limbs that we're going to be talking about. Hey, John. So just if you're wondering when suddenly you grew these 2 extra limbs, that's what we're just kind of looking at. I think I have more people here. I'm still missing 2, but that's okay. I'm just going to turn my phone into silent. So if you haven't logged on by now, I'm afraid I can't help you. So that's kind of, yeah. We're going to work tonight a lot with the forward bend. With every forward bend is a back bend, but doing a class this late at night would be more focused on the forward bend, because it's kind of closing in, it's quietening down for the night. So next week when we do our back bends, we'll do them earlier, and then we'll come back into forward bends for the relaxation sort of side of it. I also want to absolutely include this idea, some of the stuff that we do from IRS. So this idea of becoming, I want to help support us practice resilience in our lives permanently. So people would often say to me, do you do much yoga? And I'm going, well, okay, I do my personal practice and I do my classes, but really for me, it's not separate anymore. There's not that like difference. So if I'm reaching up to get a cup, rather than least path of resistance, I look to see maybe if I can feel connection as I go, you know, that I have this, it's just different. It's not separate. Although I got very lazy with it not being separate, because then I got it all rolled into one, and then I just stopped, you know, going, I'm sure I don't need to do my personal practice in the morning because it's not separate. I mean, I do it when I reach for a cup. Anyway, I've had to come and actually go back to forcing myself to do my personal practice. But for the IRES stuff, what I want to do is see if I can bring you to that place so that it's within you all the time and that you have quick access to all these tools. And so the 2 tools that I want to work on this block is the inner resource, which is like just our grounded, your place of feeling grounded. So we work on that, you know, that's kind of a continuous thing. And then I want to work a little bit, and I've done this before, I drop it again, I dropped it for a good while, and I'm going to pick it back up again. This idea of a little bit of separation and distance. So even though I'm always talking about connection, what I want us to do is that we can become aware that we have a body, not that we are our body. We have a mind, that we're not our mind. So that if we're going to get lost in thoughts, in panic, in raising thought, you know, rolling thoughts when we're trying to supposed to be asleep at night or whatever, that we can start to create that little sense of distance. Or if you're standing in front of a cranky client, student, child, or whatever, you can have that little bit of distance. You can kind of float outside your body and have a good chuckle at the kid that's having whatever meltdown, or the boss that's having the meltdown that they're having, but we don't have to get as hooked into it. So we're going to play with that. So that's the plan. That's my plan for the next sort of 7 weeks. And the other thing that I want to do is I want to continue with this idea of connection and making sure that having a live class where we actually see each other has more in it than just watching the recordings. Because, you know, it's nice. It's really important for me to support you, get your yoga, because, you know, you might well say, I shall do it in the morning, and next thing a whole week has passed and, you know, you're kind of, yeah, whatever. Or at least that's how if you're like me. But also practicing together is kind of strong. The other thing I want to do is I want to get a little bit more sense of that you're getting what you need to get and that you want to get. So, and there's loads of other little benefits that it has, this practice that I'm going to introduce has, but I'm going to ask you to bear with me, to play with it for the 7 weeks, and then we can decide at the end of the 7 weeks. If you don't want to do it in January, you can tell me, you know, we won't do it in January, but to just see what kind of comes up for us. So are you excited about this new practice?
Yay.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so what this, I'm going to have to explain it to you the first week. So what we're going to do is, I will put you on, will I put you on mute at this point? I will, I'll put you on mute at this point. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to put you on mute. You're going to sit, you're going to center, you're just going to center together with everybody in the grid view, so that we're kind of doing this part of it together. Then you can go off. That reminds me of something else I need to tell you. Then when we center, I'm going to invite you to write something into the chat. So if anybody hasn't used Zoom or hasn't used the chat, see if you can find the chat now. And if you want to do a test run, you can just sort of test by sticking hi in the chat if you want. And just see it all. And then, and there is a way of having the grid up and having the chat to the side, so that you can kind of just check out that we all know how the chat works. Fantastic.
Haven't a clue, Laura.
Haven't a clue, grand. So see down the bottom, there's like at the bottom of your, is everybody on a computer? If you're not on a computer, I can't help you.
No, phone.
Ah, Jesus, there you go. Okay, on a phone. On the phone, let me see, can I log in on my phone? There's a chat button somewhere odd on the phone. It's just not as easy to see everybody on the phone, so the chat won't be. Let me.
Oh, there. Hang on.
Find it? Cool.
Yeah. Okay.
Where was it?
It's under more.
Under more. Ah, perfect. Grand. So I'll know for the future. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So have you said hi to me then?
Hang on.
With your more. Okay.
Did you get it?
Oh, I have it. Yeah, perfect. Perfect. I have you. Cool. Okay, so what we're going to do is before I tell you what we're going to do, let me just say, if anybody wants feedback on their yoga, make sure that your video is set up so that I can see you. Most of you don't need it, but if you fancy having me say, hey, you know, whatever, move your, I mean, if that's of interest to you, just make sure your video is set in that way. If you're happy just to rock on in your head, that's fine. If you've got a particular thing that's talking to you, and you want to let me know in advance, again, if you have the video on you, it'll remind me when I see, I'll go, oh yeah, I'll give you other suggestions or whatever. So that's just a general thing. But sorry, back to this practice. And sorry for anybody watching this in the replay. I'm sorry, Emma, that you've listened to all this, but sure, there you go. Okay, so the practice that we're going to do is called popcorn. And what's going to happen is we're going to center ourselves. We're going to do a little bit of breath work. Then I'm going to invite you to connect with your intention or how you're feeling. So either. So if there's something that you want to work with today and you want to put that out, that's fine. If there's so basically it's whatever word comes up for you. So it could be an intention or it could be just how you are. And over the weeks we'll switch from one to the other. We'll play with that idea. But what I'm inviting you to do is then you write it into the, so we center, we do our breath. Your word comes to you, and if no word comes to you, say, whatever, nothing. Then we together, you're going to write it into the chat. You don't press return. And then whenever everybody's ready, so I'll just give you a second to do all that. Then when everybody's ready, then I'll say popcorn, and that's when everybody presses return at the one time. And so I'll just go, it's kind of cool. If you'd like to sit and watch it popping, then you can watch the popcorn popping. After that, then you're going to go lie down, get yourself all set up, and we'll start the physical, so this is part of the practice. How does that sound to you? Cool. Okay. So let yourself settle. Remember that you're going to have to just type into your popcorn in a few minutes, so just be there for a moment. Allow your eyes to close. And simply be with your breath. Allow comfort come over your body. Just allow memories of the day that you've had, little highlights, they could pop up and then let them float away. If anything that comes up that you feel that you need to act on or work with, then simply make a mental note of that, stick it on a post-it, mental post-it, and put it somewhere away so that you know it's safe for you for tomorrow whenever you're ready to look at it. And then in your own time, simply let yourself, as you breathe in, feel light, and as you exhale, allow yourself, find your spine and allow yourself sink into the ground. So you're not collapsing. It's more like roots of a tree. So on the inhale, I love the idea of your spine being almost like the trunk, and as you inhale, all the branches come out. The leaves wriggle in the wind. And the exhale, you feel through the spine, through the trunk of the tree, into the ground, rooted into the ground. And then notice if an intention pops into your mind, or even just an awareness of how you are. So if there's something that you particularly want to bring to you for this practice today, something that you want to work with, something that you want to work with for this block, And whenever this word lands in your body, let it land through your body, through the whole spine. If it has form, allow it to take form. And then I invite you to just, without losing your connection to yourself and to your word, come pop your word into the chat, not pressing return. Hold on to the trigger finger for a moment. And then whenever you're ready, all together, press go. Fun, ease, tightness, letting go, light, space, resilience. And so now taking yourself, holding on to this intention or letting go if it's something that you want to let go of. As you bring yourself onto your mat, make sure you have your belt or strap nearby. And we begin lying down. Fantastic. So as you find yourself settling down, notice what parts of you connect with the ground. Notice what parts of you don't. Notice, do you need to wriggle, move, wiggle? Notice if you want to pulse. So if your day has been such that you want to pulse, then you can take this beginning time to just settle down and to do that if that helps you land in your body. But otherwise, then see what it's like to notice the back of your head against the ground. Then there's a gap, the top of your head, back of the head is against the ground, arch at the neck, then the shoulders, blades are against the ground. Notice for you, how are your shoulders? Are they rolled up off the ground? Then coming down to your mid-back, arched again. Lower your butt, basically, back on the ground. Depending, maybe, then there's a little bit off the ground before the thighs are on the ground. A little bit off the ground at the back of the knees before the calves are on the ground. A little bit off the ground at the back of the ankle before the foot, the heel is on the ground. Then the toes, or rather the sole of the foot, an arch, has an arch, the main arch, and then the ball of the foot, and then another arch, and then the toes. So depending on whether your knees are bent or out straight, just for you, notice. Notice how comfortable it is for your arms to be on the ground or not. When they roll out, do they settle onto the ground or not? And then let's begin by just having a little lengthen through the entire body. So allowing the arms to reach up overhead, legs out straight. And so we're going into this human X. So starting with the right side of the body, right fingers to right toes. Switching the focus to the left side of the body, length through the whole left side of the body. Right and left. Then go diagonal, right fingers to left feet toes. Left feet fingers to right toes. And then again, the whole body. And notice how, even though you're lying on the ground, you can get this little extra sense of length through the spine, through each of the joints that attach the limbs onto the body. So from forward and back, then go to the side. And so we come into banana, allowing the right, well, actually it doesn't matter which direction you go in. You can go to the right or to the left, but banana. So you're shimmering your feet out, hips staying the same way, and the shoulders and arms are going the same way as the feet. So you're making like a C or a banana. And then going the other way. And then coming back to center and doing it one more time. So normally we spend a little bit more time on each side. This side, we're visiting both sides more quickly. But this is your choice. So if that isn't the way you want to do it, if you want to go with a more normal approach, then do that. And then, so we've gone to the two sides, we've gone head to toe. We're going to be spending a good bit of time coming forward and back. So before we do that, let's do a little twist. So how am I going to get you through the twist? I'm going to invite you to bring your knees, bend your knees, feet out, and just come to kind of a very gentle windscreen wiper. So allowing the knees to one side, either the arms can go out straight or they can both kind of move. See how it feels like. So starting with the feet flat on the ground, the knees just very gently rolling to one side and then the other. And then see as that movement comes up through your spine, what is it that your shoulders are called to do? And see how it feels. So in all of this movement, they're all very minor movements. And yet there's a little bit of movement in a lot of places. So playing with that whole idea. Fantastic. And then whenever you're ready, bringing that back in. And how are we going to bring that back in? We're going to come back knees bent and start with the arch and flatten. So we're going to start to bring the movement then through snake through the spine. So we've gone side to both sides. We've gone with our slight twist. We've gone long, and now to bring this wave through the spine, which is really where we're looking to get to. And so a little bit of arch and flatten. As you do this arch and flatten, notice how the movement, if your focus starts at the lower back, which is where we typically think of, and the pelvis arching and flattening, and then notice that how that wave goes the whole way up through the shoulders, back of the neck, top of the head. And then notice how it's connected to the feet. And so this is really, for me, not only is it a really powerful exercise, but it gives us this opportunity. Now, when beginners do this, they are simply moving their body. And even if you can remember back to when you were beginning, or even the days that you feel off, and today might be that day, it almost feels kind of mechanical. What we're looking for here at this level is to really become more like a flow. So if you were to push your feet into the ground and let that flow up your legs through the pelvis and make the arch and flatten begin and end at your feet. See how that is? It's a little bit mad, but imagine that it starts and ends at your head. So a slight move of the head, sending this wave through your spine. And if you've been able to connect with what I'm talking about, this is the essence of what I'm looking for us to do. This entire block is to see, can we get the entire body to move, to flow, to dance, like it's a ribbon, And if you were holding the ribbon at a point and you wiggle it, the wave passes through the whole ribbon. And then come to stillness. See what stillness feels like. And from stillness, we're going to come to play with the forward bend. We're working with forward bends more specifically. And we're going to do that by taking the right knee into your chest. Leave the left foot flat on the ground. We're going to work with the belt. So you kind of know how this sequence goes. And for anybody who's doing the teacher training with me, just notice that I said we're doing forward bends. So see if you can figure out how this has got anything to do with the forward bend. So I can see you're all very excited about working with the strap. Notice, what is it like to slow that process down a bit? Hold the knee in and out, release it a little bit on one side with the left side flat. Notice the undulation in your pelvis, which is what happens when we walk. Once you've done that, once you've started to release into that hip joint, then look to straighten out the leg and include the belt. Notice when you do that, are you using the belt or the strap to get further? Or can you use the belt and the strap in order to give you a little bit of support? What's the difference in feeling? Where's the striving? Can we let go of striving and know it's perfect exactly as it is? Can you play? Can you notice maybe the leg, that sense of that S word, stretch, that we used to chase, as if I'm a recovering stretch chaser. See what it's like. And then we know the sequence. We're looking to keep the connection with the hip. So to keep the connection with the hip and to keep the pelvis stable, that's our key here. Feel a little bit of pressure on the strap into your foot, into the heel, and feel that bone to bone to bone connection from the heel through the leg bones into the pelvis, and feel it across the back of the pelvis. That's the stability you're looking to keep. Allow the foot turn out, just the foot. Feel how that changes the orientation of all of the bones the whole way down. As the foot turns out to the right, it's the right foot working, isn't it? Right. Then allowing it to come out to the right. So it's heading in the direction of the toes. What do you need to keep that pelvis level? Most likely hugging your left knee in to your chest and taking it out so that you feel the stability in the pelvis when looking to protect the spine, protect the pelvis while getting this beautiful sensation across the legs. Turning it back to center, bringing it back up, bringing the left leg back in, straightening the left leg out, turning the right foot towards the left, reaching up with the left hand this time, and taking it across. Not very far. Still stability in the pelvis, most important. Taking your time in this is such a beautiful. From there, bringing it, sure, why don't we, we'll go into a full twist. So you can allow that now, go the whole way to the ground. As it goes to the ground, feel that we are now in a twist. Sorry, we're going to the left hand side, so I've just changed what we normally do. Continue going to the left, allowing your head towards the ground, which means the pelvis is no longer on the ground. We're now in a twist. From the twist, to come out of that twist now, really look at that leg is very heavy. So as you come out of the twist, you might want to bend the knee to take the weight a little bit, or you might want to use your hands. As you come out of the twist, back, pelvis flat, stable on the ground. Again, be very mindful how you come out of that twist. From here, coming in through half happy baby, we're going to come to falling tree. So play it half happy baby for a minute. That's the knee bent. knee out from the chest, foot parallel to the ceiling, leg parallel to the wall. And just have a little release there. So foot like you're walking on the ceiling. Yeah, let's see, it was too easy the other way. Then taking that into half fallen tree, sorry, into fallen tree. So your left leg is still out straight. Your right foot is coming somewhere. It's bending, knee is bending, and the right foot is coming somewhere along the left leg. So fallen tree. So your both legs are flat on the ground. The right knee is bent. Imagine like you were doing tree standing, but you're lying on the ground with it. So both left leg is out straight. Right knee is bent. Right sole of the right foot is against some. Perfect. Is against somewhere against the left leg. And what I want you to do here is to notice. Notice again. We're looking to create space in the joint. We're looking to create lubricate the joint. But I want us to notice the pelvis. We're looking at the spine now. Notice as you move, maybe move the foot slightly further down or slightly further higher. See what it feels like. How does that affect the pelvis and how does that affect your spine? Do you notice that there's slight rotation in the spine? Slight, that one pelvis, one butt is nearer to the ground than the other, or more solidly on the ground than the other? Fantastic. Now to come out of this, I want you to be very mindful about the knee. So lift it, use your hand under your knee, lift your knee back up and then slide it out. As you do that, see if you can feel there's still this connection from the top of your head, through your spine, through your pelvis, the whole way through to those 2 toes now, two toes or 10 toes, to the 2 feet. Feel the difference in one side and the other. Pause there as long as you want to. Remember, this is your practice. It's one of the fantastic things about doing it at home. You can opt in and opt out. Whenever you're ready, switch sides. Begin by again connecting with the pelvis. So that movement is not trivial. To bend up the left leg, hold the left leg into your chest. Feel the weight of the leg. I want you to really connect with the weight of the leg and the power of the leg. So we don't go flinging it around. We want to be able to move the leg. You want to be able to stick your leg around your head if you want. But to do it in a way that doesn't compromise other parts of your body. So you're hugging the knee into the chest and releasing a little bit, and see that that's like arch and flatten on one side. From there then you're going to slide the right leg up so that the right foot is on the ground and put the strap around the left foot, and then you can allow that left leg straighten up. Some of you might like leaving the other leg out straight, but if you do, just notice what happens to the arch of the back. So what you're looking to do is to be mindful of how it is on your body and pick what feels the best in your body. Once again, you're playing here. The stretch reflex is how your entire body, when it comes under attack, almost grabs in or freezes. So this stretch reflex is what's keeping us safe. We're not looking to fight with it. We're looking to release it. We're looking to let it feel safe, and then it will release. And then that will let us get a little bit of some song in my head. It's not half coming out. A little bit of mobility, a little bit of movement into those muscles, into the fascia. And so again, see what feels nice for you. Do you want to stay still, or do you want to move? Do you want to play with it a little bit? How does it compare to the other side? What's it like to point and flex the foot? As you flex the foot, can you feel the connections through? And then on this side, we're going to take the leg out to the left. So check the pelvis first, check connection, bone, 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 bone. Get all those connections into the base of the pelvis. Then turn the foot out to the left. As you turn the foot out to the left, notice all of the bones reorientate. Obviously, muscles and ligaments and tendons also do to help you do that. And then when you feel stable, when you notice how your pelvis is, then you can allow the leg out to the left. But to keep that pelvis stable, what do you need to do with your right leg? You need to hug it into your chest. Do you need to, just see what it is so that you have that stability. Notice how it changes if you change the orientation of the foot slightly. Notice how it changes if you try to hold. Sometimes holding, you discover the weakness. Sometimes we like to bounce into things. Or maybe you want to bounce into it. Have a little play. They're both valid. Just mind your pelvis, mind your sacroiliac joints. Whenever you're complete, engage the pelvic floor. Use all of the muscular system that we have to bring that leg back, including the pelvic floor. Once it comes back, take another second upright. See how that is. Release the right leg out of the way. Turn the foot towards the right. Check your stability. Switch hands with your strap or your belt or your scarf, and then you can allow it to turn to the right and then move to the right, keeping the pelvis stable. So this is not a massive movement. If you have the face, then happy days. If you haven't quite found that spot yet, you can change the orientation of the foot, and you can change the level of the leg. So sometimes actually not having the leg as high, as close to your face, sometimes that gives you a little bit more. So see that you can find your happy spot and that you can stay within your comfortable range of movement. We are going to the edges of your range of movement, but we're not looking to push into anything. And then from there, if you want to come into the full twist, which we don't normally do, so going into the full twist, which allows that leg. Now, here's a weight-bearing exercise to, with control, allow that leg continue towards the ground, and so you are now coming into a twist. You are now allowing the pelvis rotate. The pelvis rotate. The pelvis is coming off the ground. The spine is starting to rotate, and you can see what feels nice. So you're coming into a twist. Can you feel that that twist is coming through your spine? Notice if you want to play there, if you want to stay there, if you want to, but whenever you're ready, you're going to come out of it. And coming out of a twist on the ground is really important. Engage everything. Use all of your muscles to bring yourself back up. Feel the power of those muscles, but notice where they are so that you're not hanging out of it. The leg is very heavy. Once you're back to center, you can come into half happy baby on this side. Half happy baby. The foot is parallel to the ceiling, the leg is parallel to the wall. The knee can come towards the armpit rather than the chest. Fantastic. We'll get to do it with both legs in a second. You can do it with both legs if you like. That's fine. And then into fallen tree on this side. So right leg is out straight, left knee, you begin with the left knee bent, then you rotate it so that the sole of the left foot is against the right thigh or calf, and you release the knee towards the ground. It is unlikely that your pelvis is still very stable against the ground, so choose what feels the best for your body. Once you notice that your pelvis is no longer stable, do you want to leave your foot lower down the legs and nearer to the ankle? Are you talking to yourself that that's not as strong as having it up at your thigh? Here's a place that you can notice, you know, you can see people doing tree standing and they put their leg up their thigh and they're thinking, oh, wow, there's so much, you know, there's a lot, that's much harder or much more whatever. But notice for your pelvis, notice that there may need to be a rotation and a twist of some description to be able to put your leg up at your thigh. So is that what you want? Why are we doing this? We're doing this right now for hip releasing, opening that joint, creating space to the front of that hip socket. So you can get in and out of your car, up and down out of a desk. Whenever you're complete with that, we're going to bring that back to center. So put your hand under your knee, use your hand to lift your knee up. And from here, then you can come into, you can either leave it both that straight to take a moment and see how both joints are. This is the start of a forward bend, the hip sockets. And then coming into full happy baby, that's with the two legs. So taking both legs up and have a little rock, have a little roll over, fall on your face. Go forward and back, bump into your furniture. It's so cool, I can see all these feet. And so creating space. Beautiful. And so whenever you're ready, we're going to just do one more little bit on the ground before we start moving into all fours for a minute and then to standing. And that is bridge. So I'm not sure, Gwen, that this one will be for you. You might go into cat and cow, maybe. We're going to go towards that in a second. But for bridge, so for bridge, your feet flat on the ground, and feel again the connections of everything on the ground. And I want you to see if you can get your movement from your feet as you come into a rolling bridge. So rolling bridge, if you remember what rolling bridge is, it's when you're pushing into your feet, activating your thighs, activating your calves, your thighs, your pelvic floor. Your foot is going to slightly come off the ground and then reverse it back. Mid back on the ground, foot back on the ground, releasing everything out. The next time you do it, you might come a little bit higher. It might come as far as your shoulder blades. And again, reversing out of it. The third time, you might go up a little bit higher. And at that time, you might want to hold it. If you're holding it, then see what it's like to continue the flow, even though you're holding it. So holding it for 3 breaths. So all in all, you sort of come up and out 3 times, and then either continuing the rolling with the full movement or staying up, but still each time you breathe in, feeling from the feet the whole way through, expanding slightly across the chest, releasing, expanding, releasing. The last time, expanding, releasing, And then rolling yourself down whenever it is that you're ready, whenever it is that you're happy to come out of your rolling bridge, coming into a ball basically. Knees to chest, head to knees if that suits you. And so we've extended that movement through the spine, through the hips, and now we're taking it through the rest of the spine to the tip of the head. From our rolling bridge, whenever you finish having your little rock and roll, at that point then, roll yourself the full way over, and we'll come and meet in cat and cow. So when you find yourself in cat and cow, have a play. This is a beautiful one from when you're pregnant. It's like a hammock. So the baby gets to be in a hammock. Takes the pressure off the back. A little bit of work into wrists, which become vulnerable when you're pregnant for carpal tunnel syndrome. So it's a good idea to really look after your wrists, for everybody to look after their wrists, but particularly when you're pregnant, and to pad them up if you need to. And so when we're here, unless you're, we're looking to get the same business from your feet. So sometimes it can be nice to tuck your toes. So when we're trying to get this embodied connection from foot to toe, we've changed direction now. And so you might have lost all of the connection that you had altogether. And then if you have, you're looking to try and reconnect with this connection. And so sometimes tucking your toes in so that you can almost push off your toes through your legs, through the spine, through the top of the head, or down your hands as you're moving in and out. And see what it feels like for you, because you all know these poses so well. So let your body lead you. As you do your cat-cow, think about what we're looking at is creating a little bit of movement in a lot of places. So where is it that's calling you today? Is it into your shoulders? If it is, taking your hands a little bit further apart might let you really come up into your shoulders, into your neck. Make sure your head is connected to your body. To see if your head's kind of being flipped up at the end. So keep the head. Remember we talked about all of these limbs? So that there's no kind of head just popping up at the end, that it's connected. It might be useful to do moving cat-cow, where you take your butt back and then move forward. That might really give you a little bit more. I love that. Or you can come into it from side to side. Or drunk cat-cow. Put them all together. Watch the head. So, so if you're doing a lot of just kind of plain cat-cow, see, can you make more movement through the lower body maybe, and leave the head down completely and see how that is for a minute. Less of the head for some people. For some people, they're beautiful, really nice. So the thing is to follow your path. We're working, you're getting work through wrists, you're getting work through the hips, you're getting work through the spine. We're going to come to standing in a minute. So just see that you've got, what about the shoulders? And particularly necks. I can see a few people kind of I would say not looking after your neck. See, can you keep your head connected to your body? I know that sounds like a really odd thing. And if you're one of the, it's just one or two, just people there. So maybe working the other way. Fantastic. Karina, see what it's like to move from your head down to your tail. So just a slight tip of your head and send that rotation the whole way back, and maybe even come into sort of sitting back onto your tail. See, yeah, see that. How does that feel? Does that feel any different? So you're looking to just forever. Yeah, perfect. Beautiful. Oh, I've got some snakes. Oh, it looks so nice. My drunk cat cow. Actually, Karina, do you know what drunk cat cow is? Give me a thumbs up if you know. I can see the top of your head. Drunk cat cow? You do, grand, perfect. Cool. Beautiful. So you see, you're at home now, right? So next week, if you're there with your pajamas and your bottle of wine, hold it there. Okay, so from here, from our drunk cat cow, let's see if we can get to our cat cow, kind of into standing. We're going to come into a standing pose, and let's not waste any opportunities. So from here, cat cow, and just, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure I said this to you before, Gwen, but you're more working on cat with no cat, it's all cat. But from cat cow, let's see if we can take ourselves in through our squat. So maybe you need to take your legs apart, take your toes in, and see, can you come to this one where you're rolling forward and back. Maybe even, and if you've got furniture, it's very handy with furniture because you can hold on to the furniture. See how your squat is, how the squatting for a while. If you're happy to come into squat, you like squat, then take yourself out of squat. You're working towards whatever makes sense to you. So you could be working towards heels on the ground. You could just be working towards getting your butt down. You could be working towards being able to do it without holding onto your chair. On the other hand, you might be at the point where you're just kind of rolling back and forth, staying either attached to a chair or to the ground. And then whichever way you are, then let's see about bringing a little bit of leg strength into it. And see that coming up and coming down. You can do that a couple of times. This is to remind those of you that are going to Joanne on Thursday. You'll be well able for it. So see, you can do that using furniture. You can do that attached to the wall, sliding up and down. But it's worth keeping this leg strength and the mobility. Fantastic. Oh, that's so cool. Okay, well, up until this moment in time, and you all look pretty amazed, up until this moment in time, my best squatting class had been a pregnancy class, which was full of one camogie player, and the rest were all hockey. And they used to compete to see who could do the best squats. The whole hockey team seemed to get pregnant all at once. Just squatting is a fantastic thing to keep doing while you're pregnant because it's just a lovely way to give birth. Okay, so from here, once now that we're up, let's play with our forward folds. So we're going to do our 2 forward folds. The first one, and you've been well warmed up now, so this is probably not going to give you, you're not going to find the same pressure point as you normally find, but let's see how we get on. Start with your feet flat on the ground. Notice what is the story. Are your feet on the ground? How much of your feet are connected to the ground? Maybe you can close your eyes and notice that. From there, what's it like to straighten the legs without locking out the knees? And what's it like to lock out the knees? Notice. What's it like to come to your pelvis? This, see for you, rocking forward and rocking back with the pelvis, or see leaning forward, leaning back, leaning from one leg to the other leg. See if you can find your neutral pelvis. What feels like neutral for you. Then you're coming straight from here, the top of your head. And from here, we're going to play with this forward fold, and I'll show you, so if you want to watch the video or watch the film, whatever it is, watch me for a minute. And then really, you're going to have to find it in your own body. But we do this thing, we're going to turn the top of your legs. So from the tops of your legs, that's where if you bend your leg, your hand is going to get stuck. So this is where we've been doing all the work so far. From here, we're going to come into a forward fold with a straight back. So you come up with your straight back, come 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 with your straight back. At some point, something is going to talk to you. Possibly backs of the legs, possibly calves, possibly lower back. Something is going to talk to you. And just after that starts to talk to you, something is going to happen. So if it starts talking to you and you continue, there's a reasonable chance something is going to happen, which would mean you're no longer keeping your straight back as you come down. So what your challenge is to notice where does it start talking to you and what starts to happen as you come down. Do you start to round? Where do you start to round? So at what point are you when you start to round? And where do you start to round? This is an absolute somatic experience. If anybody is struggling with this, let me know and I can support you. But really what you're looking to do is, as you go down, notice which part of you starts to talk. Typically calves or hamstrings. It could also be feet, it could also be lower back. And then once it does start to talk to you, what is your default reaction? Typically, it's lower back or upper back. Excellent. So what are we talking about? We're talking about the fact that we don't have enough length through our spine to just double up, because we don't. And how do we compensate? So if you've been sitting for a while and either you're starting to get tired or get tight, what happens? Do your shoulders round or do your back, does your lower back round? Where do you put the pressure in your body? Easing yourself out of it. It's for information, so you're kind of playing, coming in and out of it a couple of times, we've seen. And also just notice we've done a lot of work with this joint now, so you're probably a lot more flexible now than you would be by 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon if you've been sitting at your desk all day. It's information, and it's one of the reasons that we do all of this work is to give you more information so you can do something, you know, when you're going for a walk at lunch, do some kind of curing numbers looking at you. So that's one thing. Then this is something that you can do to support you, which is still with 2 feet solidly on the ground. We're going to roll down, and then we're going to roll back up. So what does the roll down look like? Taking your head in your hands, because we look after this. And then release the neck down, all the weight. And just pause on there for a minute until it settles. Just notice the effect that has on your body. When you're ready, then you can roll the shoulders. And so you start from this roll. Stay there for a while if you want to. Wiggle. with one shoulder or the other. And then come a little bit more, a little bit of movement in other places. The next bit is probably a bit more difficult because typically we don't have a lot of movement in the next part. So walking yourself down, see can you roll a little bit here, and then gradually it's going to come back to where we have a lot of movement, this lower back. And then eventually we end up in ragdoll. Ragdoll feels nice because we're getting a lot of movement from that place that we've got a lot of movement in, typically lower back, also hamstrings, calves, all the stuff that we've already been working on, the lips if you reduce it around. When you're finished carrying it ragdoll, how do we get out? Use your leg muscles, bend the legs, power. Now, here's where we're getting connection. So from your feet through all the bone structures, see you can unroll, bone, step, unroll. On top of it, like you're building a tower, and eventually bringing the head up, easing it out, releasing it out. Some of you may not want to come that far down, some of you may want to come into like a down dog position. You can loop taking the break. I want to play with. And so rolling yourself down, rolling yourself up, maybe doing that once or twice, or 3 times, depending on how quick you want to play with that whole idea. And just see how it is. Notice the connections. Easing down, forward fold. If you've been sitting at your desk all day, this can be a nice thing to do. Notice how much movement we have to the front of it to come forward. Releasing into shoulders, releasing into neck. Just letting yourself ragdoll. Maybe even walking it out a little bit like we walk the dog, you know, bending one knee a little bit and bending the other knee a little bit can sort of send ripples through one side of the body and then the other side of the body. Experimenting. Fantastic. So the next time that you're ready to come back up, use the thighs, use the leg muscles, connect bone and bone and bone and bone and bone. Come the whole way back up. And what can be nice is to finish it by taking the arms into the air. And maybe even including a back arch, if that feels nice. Often that kind of counterbalance feels nice. See what feels good for you. Beautiful. And so we're about to come back to the ground. So before we do that, I'm going to invite you to very slowly, because it's the end of the night, we're looking to get you ready for bed, not ready to go down sleep. If you want to go down, oh, it's all locked down, sorry. So we're just going to do, we're going to bring that, because all of those forward bends, all that movement we've been doing, really brings into like a sun salutation. But we're going to do it as if it's a moon salutation. So I want us to do it really slowly and coming from the point of view of unwinding and relaxing. So we're not looking to open up and get energized. We're looking to do the opposite. So from the front of the mat, Feet solidly on the ground. Find your feet on the ground. Yield into the ground. Let your weight go into the ground, and there's a rebound. And with that rebound, is going to come up and open like a flower, but only a little bit. Exhale, folding forward, going back through this kind of squat. You can come into your ragdoll. From your ragdoll, legs again. We're going to step back with the right leg. And just take a moment. This will be very easy to do because we're so released. And then hands on the ground, stepping back with the other leg. Not so much into plank, but straight into cat cow. So for your cat and cow. If you're pregnant, stay with cat and cow. Otherwise, if you want to, you can go through into cobra, lie on the ground, and a little cobra, little back bend, and then back into hare. From here, tuck your toes. Again, see can you find, push yourself forward from here, from your toes, push yourself back up to tabletop. And from tabletop, from your hands now, pushing yourself into dog. I shouldn't say pushing, I should say yielding. In dog, if you want to have a little play, one. And then bringing both knees to the ground. From both knees on the ground. Stepping forward with the right foot. Left foot to meet it. You're in ragdoll, through a squat, into back arch, and back to prayer. We're going to continue one more, really slowly as you yield the weight, feet into the ground, open up. Exhaling, closing down. Into ragdoll. From ragdoll, feet are on the ground in your squat, you're stepping back into a lunge. Playing a lunge for a moment, then dropping the knee to the ground, taking the second knee back. Either cat or cow, or coming through to cobra. See, can you make this whole thing like a dance, a spiral? It's not a spiral, really, it's more like a wave through the spine, going back into hair, tucking the toes in hair. And from tucking the toes in hair, you're going to push yourself forward into table. So from the toes, sending that vibration forward into table. From table, vibrations from your hands, sending your tail back. And so you end up in dog. Taking a moment in dog. And then coming back, knees on the ground. Through here, taking the leg forward. Now that's actually a harder move than we normally do. Taking the back toe, both feet forward. Then ragdoll, through squat, yielding into the ground. Back arch. And back to prayer. Surprisingly, sometimes it can be more difficult to keep this connection from feet to hair. We're coming from here back onto the ground. So how we get onto the ground? You come into the ground, you're going to go into a twist and then into Shavasana. So have your gear ready with you. And if you want to put your legs up, make sure you have your chair and your to put your legs up. Most of you I can see you're already on the ground. I'm just going to invite you to come through your squat, see what it's like. So roll onto your butt and then come to the ground. Fantastic. Should have said you to turn off your lights before you sit down if you wanted to, but so finding your way onto the ground. I'm going to invite you to come to a twist first. A really gentle twist, so you can do the rolling twist or stationary twist. The main thing is gentle. A little bit of movement in a lot of places. And support it. Take the support. And then decide for you. So you have a couple of options. If you have the extra cushions, come into your Shavasana in the side lying position can be really nice, and using the cushions or the pillows between your legs and under your arms, under your head. Or coming to Shavasana, your traditional Shavasana. Or coming to Shavasana with the equivalent of legs at the wall, but that will be with, I was going to suggest putting your legs on a chair, in which case you also might want a cushion underneath the chair, just so underneath on the seat of the chair, just to make it a little bit softer. But just taking your time. I'm going to reduce the lights here as well. This is your Shavasana. If there's anything left that you want to do, then do that now. If there's any part of it that needs to wriggle or wiggle, do that. If there's any part of you that needs a little bit of support, do that. So prop yourself, leaving no gaps. One of the key things about when I teach restorative yoga is to not leave yourself with gaps. Give yourself support. And then I invite you to come back to your breath. Find your breath, let your breath settle down. And maybe reconnect with those words, those intentions that you set for yourself. Ease, space, self-care. Letting go of tension, letting go of anxiety, building resilience. Relaxing, fun. Unclenching. And invite your word in, or maybe borrow someone else's. And simply allow it land and see, can you find that space? Can you let go? Can you feel your body against the ground? The movement that we did today was so simple. Often we make things complicated because it feels like that's something better to be complicated, more buttons and bells. But really what we need is to come back to who we are, to our center. This is a poem from Wendy Cope called The Orange. At lunchtime, I bought a huge orange. The size of it made us all laugh. I peeled it and shared it with Robert and Dave. They got quarters. I had a half. That orange, it made me so happy, as ordinary things often do. Just lately, the shopping, a walk in the park. This is peace and contentment. It's new. The rest of the day was quite easy. I did all the jobs on my list. I enjoyed them and had some time over. I love you. I'm glad I exist. And so in your own time, in your own way, I invite you to allow your practice close, and that might be by you staying where you are, or it might involve you coming back to seated. Depending maybe on how far or near your bed is. And so as we consider this idea of closing your practice tonight again, let's do it with the breath. Taking your breath in and then just using that to connect with anything else that you want to invite, anything else you want to surrender, anything else you want to let go, anything else you want to give away. And then slowly wriggling and getting yourself back if you're coming back up. And so we take our hands together physically or, imaginatively. Taking a moment of gratitude. And then we offer peace. Om Shanti.